is definitely a big one.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Yes, RNG still undefeated in this tournament. G2 suffering another loss. However, as the guys were just mentioning there, this could be considered a step in the right direction for this squad, at least playing RNG very closely through the mid-game here in this one.
Yep. I think these two teams are actually very similar in the early game. I think that G2 definitely have a more refined lane swap, but they look for very similar things. They either look for pushing down quick structures to open up the map or, match strong lanes. And I thought that they actually had a good 2v2 lane here in the Lucian versus the Lucian Trundle lane, but the level 1 just goes wrong time and time again right now, and I feel it's because CLG has a proactive level 1 and so does RNG, and no other teams are really showing us this at this tournament, and Mata just manufactures first bloods out of nowhere.
We also see how they're playing around Kikis already in the pick and ban, because they get both the Echo and the Trundle. Kikis so far has done very well, kind of with the Trundle into the Echo, but they want him playing Echo overall, so they kind of need to steal that Trundle away, give it to Hybrid as well, so very, very early revealing a lot of champions here, kind of pivoting around Kikis, who has been a weakness so far.
And then when they do all that, he flashes in a straight line and dies.
Unlucky.
To give up level 1. Definitely so unlucky. But really, this game looked fairly close for a long time. But when you look at the fact that they had the Azir and the Twitch, the team fighting from that team composition was absolutely insane. And G2 wasn't pressuring the 1-3-1 as much as they should have been, because they were going to lose the team fights the whole time.
I want to dispel some myths about this team comp. It's not about the flanks. It's not about Twitch stealthing up and getting the good ambush. He sits there, he delivers. If anyone dives on him, Azir shoves them off. There's a box, there's a lantern to save him as well. If you cannot kill the Twitch, you cannot fight this team comp.
And obviously Lamb's Respite helps you there a lot, and I think that's one of RNG's strengths overall. The team fight, when they know it's coming, when they have all the vision, they're a phenomenal team fight team overall, especially when it comes to kiting back and then turning at the right moment. So I think that's their strength in the mid game, as opposed to G2 eSports. Throughout the entirety of Europe, yeah, they've had some nice team fights, but they were almost all generated or prompted by 1-3-1. Get the map open, one guy on each side lane, double teleport, set up, make it kind of a pick into a team fight. They've done nothing. The only split push we've seen today was a Lucian in the side lane, and that cost them 2 kills.
We did see a small glimpse of the double TP and the collapse from G2. We have a replay 21 minutes into the game. Whoosh getting a little bit caught out in the top lane. Krep, I'm going to let you walk us through this.
Yeah, so this is generally what G2 needs to do, and they needed to do exactly this in the game. Whoosh could have maybe pathed here to the right, but this is actually RNG trying to make a play, and this is one of those fights. If RNG don't have complete information, they can get a little rash. They can get a little over-eager, and we've seen that time and time again in the LPL as well, even in their series against EDG. But then later on, when these teleports don't happen, they have the overview of the fight. They win all those team fights convincingly.
And this is something we learn at Worlds. I feel like we're going back in time a little bit, but Chinese teams do not respect double teleport play.
Oh, never.
They created it. LGD was one of the first teams that came up with the teleport with the assassin in the mid lane. But for some reason, when it gets to laning, they respect it. 15 to 25 minutes, they just do not set up team fights correctly.
To make it at least an excuse for them, because we're making all these excuses for G2 eSports, there's nobody in the LPL that actually convincingly pulls off 1-3-1 on a consistent basis.
I agree with that, 100%.
Yep. Now, Jat, I want to return to the point about the Twitch composition and what Spawn was talking about in terms of you need to have a way to kill the Twitch.
Yes.
We saw a couple teams earlier in the tournament banning that Twitch away from RNG, but is this something now that we've seen it? Every team is either going to have to respect or they're going to have to find more CC and ways to kill him earlier in the draft in order to protect against it?
Yeah, well, if you're going to let the Twitch through, I think you need an assassin pick.
Okay.
Right? Not a Ryze who's a sustained damage mage against an exhaust Azir. That was never going to work in the straight-up team fight. So I think it's definitely something you can play around as laning phase wasn't super dominant. I love it with Thresh, and I think it's a nice twist, but I think there are ways you can comp around.
All right, so we'd be looking for the LeBlanc to come back in. The Zed was banned against Perk, so there's no chance of that coming in. All right, now as we push forward through the game, returning to the point you made, Jat, about this being close up till a point, and then we saw very, very clearly in team fight scenarios that RNG had the upper hand. So the big team fight 3-0 around the Baron when G2 thought they were the ones who had the advantage here. Let's walk through it.
Yeah, and this was the first of 2 team fights that just kind of crushed them throughout the game. And it all started because G2 was trying to get a pick, and they were prepping a teleport. So it was somewhat similar to the thing that we had just saw, but they burned all their cooldowns on MLXG. And then look at Whoosh on the middle left of your screen. Absolutely just open up onto everyone because no one was even thinking about the Twitch.
But 2 things I want to point out is that that was a split-second Kindred ultimate, but they had the brushes warded. I'm talking about RNG. So they're fighting with complete information. Every single time G2 goes forward there's a pink ward in the banana brush, and there's also a ward in the pixel brush. They can never fight with full information in that territory.
Yeah, and more importantly, they always find a way to kite, and then they turn pretty much so in unison. It's very impressive for a team that has, I mean, mixed language and communication. They have some key words that work very well for them in teamfights because they turn at the same time on the right targets. It gets a little harder for them to communicate, I feel, on the map when they have to like manage two sideways at the same time. That is why I feel they go for a lot of these, you know, group roams in the mid game trying to find a picks. But they are surprisingly consistent at finding them because a lot of teams that play the same style, they get torn apart on the map.
Now, finally, just to round this out, since RNG is our only remaining 4-0 team, the undefeated team, I want to see if we can poke any holes in the way that they play so far. We did earlier in the broadcast.
We can.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. Go. Poke holes.
All right, I got the biggest one for you. They still do not understand how to tempo lane swap. You see time and time again that they make these small, I guess, mistakes when they don't actually know where to go. They go to Dragon more often than going towards Rift Herald still. They just make these, against a good European team, from what I've seen, they would get torn apart in a lane swap situation, I feel.
Yeah, they'd never played against Aurelion Sol. I'm going to go back. The game they're actually closest to losing was the CLG game they played at the very start of the tournament. They've played actually 3 relatively close games in their 4-0, and if we were to look at this 4-0 versus 0-4 team, it was a lot closer than that. So I think we're currently playing best of ones. We're going to get the second round robin starting tomorrow. I think there's a very low chance that they end up sweeping it again. I think they're probably going to end up going 5-0 to start, though.
Final thoughts, Crepo?
The biggest hole that can sink the ship is just their mid game. Like the Baron baits, they're not refined. Their entry level, it's as if a team is kind of screaming and still learning it. But massive props to how they mask that weakness with some fantastic, I guess, pivots. Let's not call it mistake.
Yeah.
They just pivot and do something else.
They're definitely
and it
stepping
works.
up.
They're making it work.
Yes, that they are. Starting 4-0, they're going to be happy with how they closed the day out. Both Royal and G2 may be done for today, but there's still plenty more on the slate, with Turkey Supermassive taking on the NALCS's Counter Logic Gaming in our next contest here in Shanghai. See you back here in just a few minutes for that one.
His massive Lancer spike goes down to keep everyone alive, and Brock gets in there. He's going to live for now, but MLXG going to take him down. Really want this. Twitch is doing his very best to try and get out, but Kickers picks up the kill. Nice play back there from Mata. Box goes down. Looper's dead though as well, as Gamers 2 looking fantastic. Whoosh with massive damage. The knock up with the ultimate from Looper onto Perks, and he's going to be falling down. It's a double kill for the Rat. Look at that damage from the Twitch. The double comes out. Will it be a triple? He flashes for it. RNG continue their onslaught at MSI. 4-0.